Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Happy Monday, guys. Welcome back right here to Wager Talk TV. We are happy to be here, happy to break down some hockey games with you guys right here on Puck Time. Of course, I'm Andrew McInnis, and I have Carmine Bianco, my partner in crime, with me today. Just the two of us for our Monday show, and we'll have a great crew of guests for the rest of the week. But Carm, for a Monday slate, we actually have some pretty good games to break down, to discuss, and try and find some winners for both us and the viewing audience. But a pretty good weekend in the NHL as far as games go. For me personally, I took the low volume route, 4% winner Saturday, 3% loser yesterday, and that was really all she wrote. So, kind of a break-even type of weekend for me, but happy to have, still came out with a little bit of profit. But how was your weekend, man? There were some good games going on.
Action-packed weekend. Overall, last week in the NHL, not the best weekend, of course, but overall, for the past week, it ended up 11-6 and still profitable, mainly because I don't lay that big in juice, and I have those regulation plays. Speaking of which, one of them was the Boston Bruins against Columbus. I was talking to Dan, our producer, before the show. That one looked like a winner. The Bruins have the lead, clear the zone with 14 seconds left. Somehow Columbus gets it back in and scores with 1.8 seconds left on the clock to send it to OT, where the Bruins end up winning. And that kind of peeved me because I really wanted to win that play. But listen, NHL's been on a really good run, especially the last 3 weeks, I think. It's like 38-20 run. I'm looking to continue this NHL run and just keep on going. There's some really good games tonight. When you look at these prices, Andrew, I'm telling you right now, when you look at these prices, this is what we're going to see. And to the guys in the chat, we're going to see this the rest of the NHL season. Even when it's playoff versus playoff team, the home team, if it is a good home team, they're going to be juiced. We're going to have to find a ways around it unless you're comfortable laying those minus 200s and over. I can't do it. So you've got to find another way. And it's not just automatically taking a regulation time line. It is you either play or pass in some instances, which you talk about like low volume, and that could be something that we're looking for come playoff time. The totals are going to adjust as well too. But we're seeing those minus 250s, those minus 300s. It's like a season unlike before. We've never had prices like this that I can remember. As far as that goes. One thing I want to mention, Andrew, I'm not going to let it go unnoticed. Thursday, I was off on Thursday, driving back from the hospital where I had to drop off or get my monitor. I'm listening to the show in my car as I'm driving, and somebody on the show called me a jinx because I went to watch the Leaf game. So I just want to let you know that did not go unnoticed. Listen, it's not that I cheer against the Leafs every time I go watch a game. They seem to lose. Everyone thinks I'm hard on the Leafs. I'm hard on my friends who are Leaf fans. If I don't know you and you're a Leaf fan, none of it is directed towards you and stuff. So it's not that I am an anti-Leaf person. Just my friends drive me nuts with the Leafs chatter all the time. But I did find a very interesting video before we get going. This is a pretty good one. So I'm going to, I sent it to our producer, Dan and Joe, and maybe we'll have a look at this. I'm not sure if I sent it to you as well, to Andrew, but can we get this video up, or should I just keep chatting for a little while?
We have to take a look at this. And for the record, Carm, I just want to state, I don't want you to think or anything that I was chirping you or going at you. I was just stating facts. All I was doing was stating facts. You just said that when you go to games, it doesn't work out well for the Leafs. I wasn't saying anything against you, just simply laying down the
But
facts there. That just
yeah, and
that just simply
I
if you're a
know
stats
I
guy,
get it. I'm speaking of your team, and you might want to bet the Montreal Canadiens on April the 9th. On April 9th, I will be at the Scotiabank Arena Saturday night watching the Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens. I got a couple of tickets handed my way, so I'll be watching that. But before we get the show going, I kind of like this video, so let's have a look at it.
Kimball wins the Vezina. No. Matthews scores 50 this season. Oh, that was close. The Leafs choke in the first round of the playoffs again. Kimball wins the Vezina. No.
So no matter what
scores 50.
No matter what happens, it's inevitable.
That's not me on the video. That's not me on the video. But listen, the last time the Leafs got out of the first round of the playoffs, Mark Zuckerberg launched Facebook. It was the same year. So I just want to let you guys know how long that's been. But anyways, back to you, Andrew.
Yeah, unfortunately, Carm, we probably just lost about 100 people that were watching that were all Leaf fans. Hopefully they come back when we start giving out some winners here in a few seconds. But today's games, without further ado, Kings, Bruins, Maple Leafs, Blue Jackets, Avalanche, Islanders, Oilers, and the Flames. And of course, my buy and sell segment at the end of the show. Really pumped about that Battle of Alberta game, though. The Flames and the Oilers. I actually have a bet in that for my best bet at the end of the show. So looking forward to that. But let's dive into our very first game here. At the LA Kings and the Boston Bruins here. You talked about those high prices. Boston Bruins minus 210 at home. Los Angeles Kings plus 175. Totals at 5.5 here. And Carm, I don't want to get too far into these standings and stuff like that, but I did want to mention we had somebody tweet at both you and I asking about, can we talk about the scheduling format? We could talk about the playoffs and stuff like that. One of the things that Carm was saying at the start of the show, and just to kind of elaborate on it, if you take a look at that Atlantic Division, it's the Lightning, Panthers, Maple Leafs, and then Bruins. The Bruins have 72 points. The next closest team to the Bruins are the Red Wings with 54 points. So right now, that division is pretty much locked in with who's making the playoffs. It's just a matter of kind of who's making it in what way and who you're going to be playing. That discrepancy of, difference of 72 points versus 54, there's no chance Detroit catches them. But I have heard, and I actually did read an article this morning about the Bruins trade deadline hopes might be a little bit different after that great road trip they had, Carm. How much does that change your mind about this Boston Bruins team, the way they've played over the last 5 to 7 games?
They're playing well. It was a good road trip, obviously, for them, going 5-1 and moving up the standings. And, again, we go back to a month ago or so. This was a Bruins team that had a lot of games. They were on the outside looking in, and they had a ton of games still left, and they had quite a few games to make up, as they had played, I think, 5 or 6 fewer than the teams in front of them, sitting in those 6th, 7th, and 8th spots. So it's just a matter of taking care of business and getting back, and they've done it. They are, if you go on some sites right now, I believe percentage-wise, they are 99.4% to make the playoffs. And as to your point of the teams in the East, pretty much set. And we talked about that last week. I think all the 8 spots are set. Columbus, who we'll talk about shortly in the second game up against the Leafs, they put a good run to get into 9th place, but their point expectancy is they're on pace for 87 points. That's not going to get them into the playoffs. And that's represented in the fact that they have a 5.8% chance of making the playoffs this season. So they would have to play well above their current pace and hope for some, for either the Bruins, which is not going to happen, or the Washington Capitals to sort of stumble for them to get into playoffs. I just don't see that happening. As far as that goes, we talk about I always talk about the first game back off a road trip, and the Bruins have only had one road trip of 4 games or more this season. They came home, they won that game. That was against the Colorado Avalanche, I believe, beating them on that matinee game 5-1. Now they come home off a 6-game trip, albeit from the West Coast. They finished off on the East Coast playing Columbus, as I mentioned in that game on Saturday. And they catch a Kings team finishing off their road trip. Now, we remember what happened the last 2 times these 2 teams met, Andrew. 7-0 for that Kings. I had the Bruins as a 5% play in that game. This is a tough spot for the Kings because this is their 3rd in 4 nights. They played the Sabres yesterday. This is their 4th in 6. Or you can go even further and go their 5th game in 8 nights. Scheduling wise, probably not a good spot for this team, but they can probably afford to drop one as well too. They're in a good spot now as far as playoffs go. They're at 80.5% to make the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that, we try and figure out which games mean what to teams. And people kind of have been kind of misunderstanding me when I say that. But the fact of the matter is the biggest thing right now in the NHL, and you're seeing it every couple nights, is that there's going to be letdown spots. There's going to be spots where certain teams will not show up as much as others. And to piggyback off what you were talking about with that road trip, it was, again, a successful one. So I take that more into account than if it was just a road trip coming off of where it was, they went 500 or they had a losing road trip. This is a team coming off a winning road trip where it could really make them feel good about themselves, picking up some great wins along the way. 7-3 their last 10 games here for the Ottawa Senators. But hats off to you for that 5% play that you had, Carm. That was just pure dominance. I remember discussing that with you and actually texting about that. I think we both had a 5% in the same day that day. And when those type of losses happen to a team, I think that if it's a long term, like they don't play again for the next, month or 2 even, it's not that bad. But these teams have played pretty recently. It hasn't been that long. And to me, that makes a difference. I'm not sure I'm ready to trust the Bruins defensively completely, especially in this spot, especially when they just got home, albeit they've been home for a day. It's not like it's a first game back and they're playing a back-to-back. But I think I'm prepared to come out here with an over 5.5, and money's coming in on the under in this game. And we see a Los Angeles team that has proven that they can score goals. There's no issue with this team scoring goals. They definitely aren't just, a simple low scoring or nothing team with them if they're going to get victories. They have wins where they put up 5 goals, 4 goals, consistently on their schedule. And I think the Bruins are feeling it right now. They've got confidence in their own way. But, I think that, when you look at games like this, what angle works even better when you look at this type of game? And the Boston Bruins, to a lot of people's surprise, I used to be a good first period under team. They've actually turned into a decent first period over team right now. I like the first period over as well. The LA Kings, you throw them into the picture. You talk about all the games they've played recently. And then you kind of have, like you said, Carm, an interesting case for both teams as to why they could potentially be unfocused or at least a little bit sloppy. And we always say that sloppiness, that fatigue, that leads to goals. Doesn't lead to, laziness as much. It leads more to turnovers, which can create offense. So I think I might even double up on this game. First period over, full game over. And I can't remember the last time I said that on this show.
Yeah, Andrew, I don't blame you for that. And it's something that I may take a chance on that as well. I thought it was a bad scheduling spot for LA back in that game where they played the Bruins. And I didn't expect it to be a 7-0 game. I think they just got away from them at some point. I don't expect a similar game, but I expect a game with some goals here. Listen, Swayman's playing very well for this Bruins team. They're playing very well. It's so interesting because when you look at the standings as far as the Bruins go, they're only 2 points back of the Toronto Maple Leafs in the Atlantic right now. Leafs on 74, the Bruins on 72. And I know you're not jockeying for position. They're going to make the playoffs. But it becomes one of those things where, as a Bruins fan, if you are one, where do you want them to finish? Do you want them to finish ahead of the Leafs or behind the Leafs? If you finish ahead of the Leafs, you're likely going to face one of the two, Florida Panthers or Tampa Bay, in the first round of the playoffs, and not have home ice. If you finish fourth in the Atlantic, you're likely going to face you're going to face one of the two teams that finishes first in the Atlantic or the Metropolitan, which is going to be Tampa or Florida in the Atlantic, or likely Carolina, who doesn't seem to be losing anytime soon. So it's a tough spot. The East, as far as it's a top-loaded conference, and for the teams that finish in seventh or eighth, you're going to face a very good team. So I think the Bruins just can continue on winning, and they could very well, if the Leafs continue to struggle, they could very well leapfrog Toronto into that third spot in the Atlantic. But there's still plenty of the NHL season to go. I think we have on average, about 28 games left for teams right now.
Exactly, and that's what I wanted to correct, and make sure I wasn't telling people that the positions are set in stone. There's no position set in stone. It's just the playoff spots, like Carm just said. So these teams are still competing for their spots. It's just kind of, if they're going to make the playoffs in the East, you kind of already know. But let's talk about the Maple Leafs that we just made fun of for about 4 minutes in the introduction of this show. But they're minus 220 tonight on the road in Columbus. Total is at 7. Most shops actually showing 7s here. Some 6.5 still around. You got to shop around for that. But 7 in this game here, Carm. Plus 180, like I said, the dog price. But hey, we talked about this with Brian Leonard. The plus 1.5 number, just minus 130. If you believe Columbus can keep things close, puck line for the Leafs, minus 1.5 is plus 110. When you look at this game, it's actually very similar to what we were just discussing, Carm, with the revenge factor. And, you listen to some handicappers and they'll all give their opinions on what a revenge factor means, how much they take that into account, or if that even applies at all. I'm actually, in that category of, like I just stated earlier with the previous game, revenge factors only mean something to me if it's been relatively recent when these two teams played. And especially it's a revenge factor, I think, if it was an upset in the first game and the favorite, is trying to bounce back. So that to me is kind of revenge factor criteria, I guess. And if people at home don't remember, this game, Columbus came back, and the last time these two teams played, and then Patrick Laine won it in overtime, I believe, in about 10, 13 seconds. So it was a high-scoring affair. Columbus won it in overtime. And, we've got this Columbus team right now that, we talk about this with Brian. They've been playing a lot better hockey. And over the past week and a half, they have definitely changed kind of how they're playing. And it seems like they're playing a lot more free-flowing, which has helped their offense, but certainly made them a little bit more, volatile, I guess, defensively as well. They're giving up goals too, giving up 9 goals in their last 2 games. We talk about the Maple Leafs. They've given up 11 goals in their last 2 games. It seems like the goaltending issue and the defensive issue with this team has not gotten any better. But I'll tell you what, I think that, when you look at this team and kind of how they played against Vancouver, take away a few of those mistakes, and I'm actually going to pay them a compliment, even though they gave up 6 goals. I got to give them credit for fighting back. You're down 2 goals early. The Leafs come back in that game, and they just felt like they had to exchange goals all game long. But with the schedule they have coming up this week, Carm, I think if the Leafs can get out early and get the first goal or two, they have some opportunities here to get their confidence back and get their goaltenders' confidence back in this one. But I always like to leave with a question, as you know. My question to you is, we're seeing 7 here as the total. Is there anything that would get you to go on the under here? I mean, both teams right now playing in really high-scoring games.
Likely not. I think it's just because you have to lay some massive vig. I think the under 7 is like 120, 125, which lends me to believe, or leads me to believe, I should say, sorry, that I think we're going to end up seeing 6.5 on this game as we get into the afternoon. because we normally see it. These lines will, the high scoring games will typically start at a 7, because if they start them at 6.5, they're going to get action on the over. So at 7, I think the books get some balanced action on both sides, but it's going to go to a 6.5. But the two games this year, 5-4 and 4-3, I talked about it. That when you see this happening between teams, you sort of look at it to kind of continue happening. That I think it was on Friday's show with Brian and I. We talked about the was it the Winnipeg Dallas game? I think it was one where the first two games had finished 4-3. All three games had gone to OT, and the fourth game ended up going to OT. It was like plus 310 to go to OT. I said, if you want to throw some pizza money on it, go right ahead. You look at the Leafs, and they're struggling, Andrew. I'm going to say it. This is they're a very talented team, but since January 9th, I saw a tweet by Sportsnet Stats. Since January 9th, they have the worst save percentage, and that's over 21 games. 0.876 save percentage for their goalies. They're 13-8 during that time, so they have a winning record with the worst save percentage. They're 6-4 during that same period versus playoff teams, 7-4 versus non-playoff teams. This is a problem, and as we approach the trade deadline, it's going to be a hot goalie market. There's going to be a hot goalie market for teams looking for veteran or proven goalies, because you've got the Edmonton Oilers who are in that position, and who knows whether they make a trade or not, or they stick with Koskinen and Smith. And I hate to say it, but even Colorado, if you looked the other day against the Calgary Flames, Comfort did not look good, and he was pulled. 3 shots that he probably could have stopped against the Flames, they pulled him. He wasn't happy about it as he smashed his stick and headed into the dressing room after getting pulled for Francouz. So, with that said, I'm just going to look at goals here. I think we're going to see some goals here. The Leafs likely should win if their talent is there. It's going to be one of those games, I think, that they're just going to have to outscore Columbus. And because Columbus is going to get theirs. I think it's going to be Mrazek in goal tonight. Even Campbell's struggling, but this is we've seen over the Leafs the last few years, Andrew. Listen, Campbell had a very good season last year, but it was a 56-game season for in the NHL. The year previous to that, we saw Freddie Anderson get overused, and in the second half of the season, he struggled immensely, and then they got bounced in the first round of the playoffs. Freddie Anderson's having a great season in Carolina, and he's not playing every game. We're seeing them use Ranta. This is when you have a team in front of you that plays some defense, you can do that, and Freddie will be rested come playoff time, which bodes well for them because they're playing extremely well. He's having a good season. I think they're putting in Mrazek here because they have an eye on the fact that they're going to make the playoffs. But if they overuse Campbell, they might be toast come playoff time in that first round again. And I'm not getting on the Leafs because you say, oh, Carm doesn't love the Leafs or hates on the Leafs. No, this is a problem each and every year. You need to have 2 very good goalies, I think, because you need a goalie come the second half of the season to give your number 1 starter some time off in between games. So, with that said, I'm going to go with the over here, Andrew.
Well, Carm, I'll tell you, I was happy that my favorite team last year was able to take advantage of their problem and move on. So that was great news. And yeah, you're not being harsh on them. And I got to give some respect actually towards Columbus, because the last time when they beat the Maple Leafs, Carm, they followed that up with a victory against the Florida Panthers. They proved that that wasn't a mistake. That wasn't a fluke, I guess. They've actually been playing some decent hockey. I believe at one point they had a 5-game winning streak recently. So they have played well. One thing I wanted to mention, 4 of the last 5 games on the road have gone over for the Leafs. You've seen lots of overs at home for Columbus. But interestingly enough, last 10 times these two teams have met, power play percentage for the Columbus Blue Jackets, just 13%. has not done well against the Maple Leafs. I believe the first period is going to be very important in this game for the Leafs to get out, get the first period taken care of. But as far as the total goes in this game, I believe we're actually going to be able to get a good in-game number with this, guys. I believe that if you look at this game, you're going to see two different teams that have talent offensively, that are playing well right now, that are scoring. The big guys are doing their jobs. They're not playing well defensively as a core. And I think in the first 5 to 10 minutes of this game, if you don't see a 6.5 pop up at your book before the game, I believe you're going to be able to get it after the 10-minute mark, or a 6, even better. I believe this game will have an emphasis on defense out the gate. And then in the later part of the first period and moving into the second period, that's when we start to see some goals. And just like Carm, I like that over as well. Two teams that can definitely score. And I don't really want to have any business in taking any unders with these guys here. So let's keep the show rolling along here and discuss a Colorado Avalanche team that was involved in a really good tilt against the Calgary Flames on the weekend, Carm. They're playing the New York Islanders. The Islanders plus 170 at home. Colorado minus 200. Total at 6 in this one. If you want the puck line for Colorado, minus 1.5 plus 125. For New York, plus 1.5 minus 145. What are your thoughts here, Carm?
Yeah, my thoughts here are going into that game on the weekend. Colorado was coming off a loss to Arizona. I think we talk about those huge money lines. They were, I think, in that loss to Arizona, they were like anywhere from minus 350 to 400, and those are the lines we're going to see. Not maybe that high, but you're going to see them a lot with Arizona playing Colorado playing non-playoff teams, sort of moving forward. So you've got to find different ways around it. Colorado was 9-0 off a loss, and I had them on the weekend against the Flames. I got burnt, unintended, on that one, as Calgary wins that one in OT. I'm going to come back with Colorado here. I'm going to find a way to play them as well too. Maybe on the puck line here, Andrew, and you can get some plus money on them. They've only lost 3 in a row. I'm going right back to that narrative. Once this season, that was at the very beginning of the year, the first week of the season. They lost at home to St. Louis and then hit the road, lost in Washington and lost in Florida. All very good teams. Are the Islanders a very good team? No, they're not. And the Islanders, although they come off a win against St. Louis, you're going to get Varlamov in goal tonight. He's probably the worst of the two. Sorokin is the much better goalie. I think he's had a very good season. This Colorado team has to bounce back, I have to believe. Hopefully we're not talking on one of the shows the rest of this week where Colorado's on a 3-game losing streak, but I don't think so. I'm going to take the Avs tonight. I'm going to lay the goal and a half here with them and take the plus money.
I like that quite a bit, Carm. And, I talk about letdown spots and what that means at this point in the NHL season. Some people might call me crazy for saying this, but my handicap on this game is completely different if Colorado won that game against Calgary. Any arguments there, Carm? Like the way I approach this game is different because they lost against Calgary. They win that one. I think about this one a little bit different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does make sense. Listen, if you watched, it's not that they're playing bad. We talk about like teams on losing streaks, and you can identify the fact that they are playing bad, which is the fact that they are losing. The game against Arizona that they lost 2-1, I believe it was Vejmelka in goal, and their goalies have been standing on their head even for Arizona, and getting them or keeping them in games. Like even Wedgwood coming back, standing on his head. I think Colorado had 40. It was in the mid 40s as far as shots on goal, and good ones. If you look at the goal expectancy numbers, still very good numbers. Brian talked about sometimes a goalie can keep you in the game. Brian talked about it on Friday's show. the Florida-Ottawa game. The expected goals, that game finished 3-0 Florida, and it was 1-0 after one. It wasn't until late in the third period where Florida got sort of that buffer. But their expectancy in that game for Florida was 7 point something or whatever. That's absolutely insane a number for your goal expectancy. It just shows that the goalie kept them in the net. You look at Colorado, that's a game that likely they should have won, but they lost against Calgary. They played extremely well against Calgary as well, too. But this Flames team just does not give up right now, and they found a way to win off a change, getting in behind McInnis on that 3-on-3, and they score and win. Good teams, and especially teams that are hot, are finding ways to continue to win, and that's what Calgary is doing right now. So to your point, they played 2 very good games, came away with losses. If they continue to play the way that they're playing, they'll get the win tonight.
Yes, this game against the Islanders has a lot more emphasis tonight, I think, than it usually would have. And it's kind of funny, Carm. The games tonight going on, there's a theme. There's a lot of revenge spots. There's a lot of teams that have already played each other recently, just like these two teams played each other back on March 1st when Colorado won 5-3. And I expect probably a similar scoreline here. I'll probably look at the Colorado team total in this one, over 3.5. Try and take out the Islanders out of the picture and just root for this Colorado team to get me 4 goals. And you talked about the discrepancy in goaltenders and the difference. I think we see that tonight. So I'll take Colorado on their team total over 3.5 in this one. Our last game we're going to discuss here in Canada, we call it the Battle of Alberta. Edmonton Oilers and the Calgary Flames. The Flames minus 200. The Oilers plus 170 here. And I guess it's a very simple storyline here. No pun intended, but hey, we've got the Flames. They're red hot off a big win against the Cup favorites, the Colorado Avalanche. And the Oilers, they're off a 5-2 loss to my Montreal Canadiens, who have just decided, hey, we don't want that first overall pick. We'll go on a huge run and just play spoiler the rest of the year, it seems like. But that was a big win for them and kind of a back to normal and what we were used to seeing from this Oilers team as far as their defense goes. They played about 4 or 5 games of great defense. Whether it was reflecting on the scoreboard or not, the new coach was implementing some really good tactics for them. And all of a sudden now we're starting to see this team kind of give up too many odd man rushes, give up too many breaks, take undisciplined penalties. And that's not going to cut it against the Calgary Flames. I mean, it's not going to work out if you do that against the Flames here. I think defense is the key for both teams in this one. The Flames, fresh off a game, again, like we just talked about, big one against the Avalanche, where they were trading goals. 2 talented teams trading goals. It's kind of what the new era of hockey has turned into. But in this one, I actually expect a lower scoring game, Carm. I think an emphasis is going to be on defense from the Oilers. They're kind of slowly but surely running into a depth problem again, which I feel like I'm saying that once every 3 weeks with this team or shorter. And Calgary, look, I'm not saying they won't be up for this game. They're always up for the Oilers, but I think defense will be a huge emphasis for them. And if they can stay out of the box, and so can the Oilers, I'll take under 6.5 here.
Yeah, this could be one of those, the Battle of Alberta sort of playoff battles that we used to see. Both games, Edmonton's won both games this year against Calgary, but both have been in Edmonton. And now the venue switches. It's so tough to get in front of this Calgary team because they just keep winning. That game against Montreal, Montreal's done that to a few teams this year, and then that bad scheduling spot for them against Vancouver. But other than that, Andrew, their schedule has been good. There haven't been any, that I can see, of those 3rd game in 4 nights type of scenarios where a team is beaten up. And it's Markstrom in net tonight. It's got to be Markstrom in net tonight. It looks like it's Koskinen confirmed. Markstrom's not confirmed as of yet, but it should be Markstrom because in Colorado, Vladar was in net for the Flames. So you got to figure they're coming back with Markstrom in this spot. So you're obviously getting a very good goalie at home who's not allowing a lot of goals. My only fear is the Flames are scoring a lot of goals. So what game do we see? Do we see a game where the Flames tighten up and play against and keep this a low-scoring game? I'm not sure which way to go here as far as the total. And you make some good points. It's just these are two teams that are scoring a lot of goals, but this Edmonton team is struggling. Andrew, you look at this team, and to the point of before the Toronto Columbus or during the Toronto Columbus preview that I said it's going to be a hot goalie market. Is Ken Holland going to make a move to get a goalie in Edmonton? Because if you're going into that first round of the playoffs, I'm sounding like a broken record. I'm going to continue to say it. With Koskinen and Smith, I don't see them winning a series when they've got to play a team like Calgary in the playoffs, the Colorado in the playoffs, St. Louis in the playoffs. I just don't see them winning a 7-game series with their goalies. They're going to have to outscore a lot of teams, and that's not normally playoff hockey. Winnipeg did it with Hellebuck last year, swept them in the playoffs. So your players can only take you so far. Your goaltenders got to get you there. And it's going to be a hot goalie market, I think, as we approach the trade deadline. And the minute the first one goes, we're going to see teams scrambling to get another one in. I'm going to take the Flames here. I don't know if I'm going to take them in regulation time. Another thing you can do is these aren't the money lines I like to lay, guys. I've said it all season long, minus 200. But if you think Colorado's going to win tonight and you believe Calgary's going to win tonight, you take the two of them. You take the full game lines parlayed together, and you're going to get plus 125 on your money. Once in a while, that's a different angle you need to look at, or you might want to look at. You don't need to look at it. You might want to look at it, and that's probably one that I'm going to do, where I take the Avs and I take the Flames, and I take them together in a money line parlay and get plus 125 on my money for two teams I think that continue to win long term.
Love it. I think that's a great two-teamer to make, and I think that you've talked about the goaltending situation there for the Oilers, and you ask about what Ken Holland's going to do. We've been waiting for them to make a move, goaltending-wise, for a long time, not just this year. And we'll see if they end up getting active and see. But I'm hoping to see a good defensive game here. Before we jump into best bets, let's get into some quick buy and sell. We'll try and make the segment short and sweet, but let's jump in to the buy and sell segment. All right, guys, we are back with the buy and sell segment here. This week, we are looking at two teams that I'm feeling really strongly about these selections, guys. Last week, well, it was a lot better for our sell, okay? We were selling the San Jose Sharks. They lost a game, I believe, 8-0. That's a pretty good sell to have. Our buy on the Minnesota Wild, well, it didn't go as well. But we're going to try and bounce back. We're going to try and have a big week with you with the buy and sell here. And we're going to start with the buy team. And it's kind of ironic because on today's show on Puck Time, well, I wasn't really too kind of this team. The Toronto Maple Leafs here, I think they have a smooth sailing set of competition coming up here. The Blue Jackets, Kraken, Coyotes, and the Sabres. If that combination of teams does not get your swagger back and your confidence back, I'm not really sure which set of teams would. So really like that schedule coming up for the Maple Buds. Number 1 in the league in face-off percentage and power play percentage. Two huge, huge categories you want to be leading the league in, and that's great for them that they've been in that pretty much all season long. And when you play weaker teams and you have a great face-off percentage and a great power play percentage, you make them pay. And I believe the Maple Leafs will do that upcoming here this week. And also looking at kind of what's going on with their defense and their goaltending. Like I said, guys, against some of these teams that are averaging a lot less shots per game than the teams they've been playing, a lot less, strength on the power play. This is going to be a week for the Maple Leafs to be able to show they have great goaltending. They have a decent defensive team. I believe this could be an opportunity for both Peter Mrazek and Campbell to get back in action and get some confidence back. So the Maple Leafs are my buy team for the first time since this segment has started. Getting into this sell team now. Well, it's kind of funny, guys. If we can, let's just pull up the graphic right now because we're going to talk about a team that I've already used for this segment. This is a team that I've already used, and this segment is only pretty young here, guys. We're talking about the Winnipeg Jets again. They are struggling defensively. And Carm just mentioned Hellebuck on the show today here on Puck Time, talking about how you can't always rely on a goaltender. A goaltender is great for you. You have to play well defensively. We have seen the Winnipeg Jets give up at least 3 goals in 7 straight games. They have a tough schedule approaching, facing several contenders and tough teams such as the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Vegas Golden Knights. I do not think things get better here for the Winnipeg Jets, and they continue to allow far too many shots and dangerous scoring opportunities. They're 22nd in the league, guys. Shots against per game with 33.2 shots per game against. So, Carm, this time around, we're not really changing things up as far as my sell. Back in the sin bin go the Winnipeg Jets, as I'm once again going to look to fade them this week. What are your thoughts there on the buy and sell team, Carm?
Well, my first thoughts are I did a terrible job of not throwing it to you on the buy and sell. I should have done that. You had to introduce your own buy and sell segment, so I apologize on that. But I like it. You have to expect the Leafs to win against these teams, and it's forecasting the schedule. And I think you did a good job of it. I think they start to string some wins together, especially given what's happened to them over the last few games. And yeah, you listen. The farther a team like Winnipeg gets from those playoff spots, that team just doesn't have the same jump. I think you sort of just start to realize that we've got to play at such a big winning clip of 650 or 700 just to get into a race for that 7th and 8th spot. And it's not going to happen. That the mood in the dressing room changes. So with that, I like both of these teams as far as the buy and sell. So wish you best of luck on this one.
I appreciate it. And for those of you guys out there watching, I didn't want to reuse the same team myself, but it just kind of applied, and I guess it's all about finding winners and finding the right team to fade. And I guess as you guys can tell, I really don't like this Winnipeg Jets team right now. And their schedule coming up is not very strong. So, Kyle, I'll throw it to you for your best bet. It is $9 Monday across WagerTalk.com. Every single play, $9. I believe you have some plays up for today. Also, play up for tomorrow early.
Yeah. So a couple NHL plays up for tonight. Of course, only $9. We're going to try and keep rolling through this month, especially with this upcoming trip to Vegas. And one play up for Champions League. Champions League returns this week. Some huge leg 2 matches in the first round of the knockout stages, and of course Europa League as well too. So pretty good time to get those, whether it's a 3-day or 7-day all access packages as well, and get all the plays, including 5%. But a 5% play up for tomorrow that you can get for $9. That'll go back to original price at midnight. As far as my play, the best bet on this show, I'm going to go right back to that Colorado and New York Islander game. I talked about the fact that we are going to see a lot of these highly juiced games. It's just a fact. We're going to see minus 200s and over. If you're comfortable with them, you can play them. I'm not so much. I'm going to find a different way here. I like Colorado to win this game. Also like the fact that I think Colorado's going to get off to a quick start here. You can take the Avalanche first period minus a half plus 135, and that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to look for the Avs to come out off of 2 losses and try and make it right tonight and get off to a good start in the first period. So I'm going to take the Avs minus a half a goal plus 135 first period.
Absolutely love those first period puck line plays. Great way to find some value on a team that should bounce back and have a great night. Best of luck to you tonight, Carm. And I really do like that first period play there with the Avalanche. I'm going to go back to a play I discussed here, guys, in my best bet. Before I do that, though, I do have a 5% play up tonight on the ice, actually. I was waiting to confirm some information, waiting to get some consensus lines out, and the play is up at WagerTalk.com. It's a 5% play, and they're 12-3 my last 15 here in the NHL. I'm now number 1 in the NHL on the season. It's been a very competitive season. Lots of great handicappers doing NHL at WagerTalk.com, but it's been great for me over the past few months. The 5% plays have been amazing. Last 365 days, I'm number 2 as far as 5% NHL plays. So very consistent with these top plays, guys. Check it out for just $9. My best bet, let's go back to the Battle of Alberta with Edmonton and Calgary. Calgary coming off that big win against Colorado. We've got Edmonton coming off a tough loss against Montreal. I believe we see defense in this game. I believe defense is a huge, huge point for both teams to make heading into this one here. And it's a rivalry. So as long as they stay out of the box, I think we'll see a lot of effort defensively, great goaltending from both teams, and see under 6.5 here, guys. And Carm mentions the juice a lot of times in the VIG here. That's why I'm playing lots of totals here. You'll notice on the best bets this week, guys, lots of totals from me. So under 6.5, Oilers, Flames, Carmine, Bianco, Colorado first period puck line, -0.5 goal, plus 135. I want to thank all of you guys for joining us here on Monday. I'll remind you to check out WagerTalk.com at $9 Monday, every single play listed for only $9. And before you leave this video on YouTube, hit the thumb, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.